Welcome, everyone. We are live on this glorious Tuesday. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, I should turn that light off. It's blinding. Um, there. Words. That's what we're talking about today. Words. Strength or weakness, or strength and weakness. Oh, because we talk a lot. Oh, look who's talking, right? I know all about that. Words, though. Words. You see, sometimes we can convey so much by saying so little. Sometimes we don't have to say anything at all. And so when we first learn to pray, as youngsters, if you did, we're always taught words. But what about those feelings and moods that we shift through on a daily basis? Do you know that's why those kinds of things get answered first? Because they're from the truest part of you. You're not trying to make them flowery. You're not trying to placate anybody. Absolutely nothing. You're not trying to do anything. So when we don't speak, like when it just happens, when they say to you, go with your first instinct, there aren't any words in that. Now, we always hear the scripture, my word shall not return unto me void, or my word shall accomplish what I sent it to do. Why? It's not the words, right? It's the mood that will dictate the words. Because what if you could not speak? If you couldn't say a word, brings you to extreme, doesn't it? More than words, right? That one. What if you couldn't speak? How would you communicate? I'm sure there is a device that someone wears on their head. It's connected to them somehow, and it puts words to their thoughts because they can't speak. I don't remember that device, but I know that it exists because I've heard about it. And that's what brought this on, is that we don't always have to speak to convey things. And I think we become so verbose that we lose our message. So the encouragement is to sit in the silence. And you have words in your head. You could be sitting there in the silence, or when you read, you're not saying anything, but you're reading the words in your head. What if we sat in the silence and didn't even have words in our heads? You ever sat and looked out the kitchen window? You did nothing else. You just sat and looked out the kitchen window. You're not saying anything. But when you look out the window, you're transported somewhere. You look out the window, you're not saying a word, but you're feeling something. That is what you will experience. That feeling. Oh, yes. Because they don't, what I'm trying to convey to you here, when just you're showering, you're driving, sitting at your desk at work, you're doing your data entry, you're doing something on autopilot. There aren't any words. Necessarily, there aren't any words. But there are sure a lot of feelings, right? And there's one particular feeling that you have more than others. Neville Goddard calls that your home state. Remember, a state is a mood. A state is a mental attitude. A state is your predominant feeling that you have. Those aren't words. And because we live from there, you see, we can say things as much as we want. We can be flowery, whatever. When scripture tells you God does not see the way man sees. Man sees the outward appearance. God sees the heart. Before those words come of your mouth, they were in you as a mood. That is what it means when it says at the heart, that mood that no one, you see it, don't we? I told you this last time. You can walk into a space and you can feel someone. Oh, yeah. Yes. You haven't said a word. So you say it's so tense, you can cut it with a knife. You know, the tension is so thick, you can cut it with a knife. That's invisible, isn't it? But yet you sense it. This is what I'm trying to show you. You sense things. And we are fancy with our words and we call it intuition. It's not. And this is why we feel sometimes that some of us have intuition and some of us do not. All of us have intuition, inner knowing. We all have it. And there aren't any words for it. It's just something you sense. And my daddy always says you don't go against it. You don't question it. You just do it the first time. There's a reason for that. What do we do? Doubt, second guess ourselves because we try to justify the feeling or put the feeling into words. Something gets lost in our feeling, and we think feelings have to do with quote unquote emotions, and you're in your feeling. See what I mean by how words distort sometimes? This is what I'm talking about. When you take the time, ever just looked out the window? You don't do anything but just look out the window. And it's called reverie when you do it. See, I keep telling you, we have a word for everything. And sometimes we feel lost when we don't have words. But this is why we have the arts. We've heard it. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Words. It is. But find another way. Find what gestures. You know what I'm talking about. You can't roll down your window because it's frozen shut. But let me tell you, you can flip a bird, can't you? Sure can. You said many words in that one gesture. Oh yeah. Yes. We have phrases, oh, they thumb their nose, tongue in cheek. It's only a phrase, but the phrase denotes an action. And it has no words. Because when you begin to comprehend, it isn't your word things, but that's what I'm talking about. If we did that, if we remember who God is, right? Remember who God is. God is not on the outside of you. Remember who God is. You. But we're scared of that responsibility, but I digress. If we felt, more, what does it mean? You know, if you turn off the lights in your room, you know your room so well. What's the first thing you do when the lights are out in your room and you need to get something done? I do it when I don't want to wake my rooster. I don't turn the light on. I know where everything is by what? Feeling, by touch. Oh, I know where my knees know exactly where the corner of that bed is, and I'm telling you, they sure do. So we know by feeling, we know by touch, we know by sensing. Do the same with your words. Pretend you don't have any. And just simply sense. Because when you start to sense, you're much deeper. You're not on the surface anymore. There's now a depth that you've gone to when you begin to sense. And the reason I say it, listen, when I go outside and it's pitch black and I have to start my car, I have an idea where the ignition is, where to put my key. But I don't turn on the light on my phone. I feel, I sense, I touch to know where to insert my key. I know what other image just flashed into your minds when you can't see, but hey, that's my point. You see, you and I are already doing it. But because we've become so comfortable with the words, we, it's quite like what technology is doing. I made turnovers with my mother yesterday, and you have to grater the coconut, yes? I said, Mom, I'll just put the coconut in the blender. She goes, ugh. She goes, the blender, as my mother would do, the blender wasn't always here, you know. The grater was here before the blender. And I said, yes, Mommy. She goes, grater the coconut. I said, yes, Mother. I'll grater the coconut the manual way. She goes, it is just better when you grater it. I said, yes, Mommy. And so I grated the coconut. Let me tell you, I only scratched my finger once. Just one time. I didn't break skin, but I scratched, right? So it is the exact same thing. We lose something the more we become technologically advanced. We would have to. We no longer get a sense of what the food feels like in our hands as we prepare it. We don't need the dough anymore. And that was part of my experience yesterday. I said, Mommy, can I just throw the dough out and start over? She goes, no. She goes, put it in some water. I said, yes, Mommy. And I put it in water for a minute, and that was the most beautiful dough I've ever worked with. And I'm like, what the hell? I really just wanted to throw it out and start again because it did not look and feel the way it should. And she said, well, you've never made turnovers before, so how are you supposed to know what it will feel like? You have to go by touch, is what she said to me. So when she looked at me, because we were on WhatsApp video, and she said to me, just work the dough. She stopped talking and worked the dough. And then when it this and when it looked, how does it feel now? So the whole point I'm trying to convey is when we speak so much, we stop feeling. Pay attention and you'll know what I'm saying. If we would feel, you would know when you walk in the door if your man or your woman or your children or the dog, shoot, or the rooster is in a good mood or a bad mood or hurting. You would know because you've practiced feeling what's. You ever heard somebody said, "I just sensed a presence in my room"? This is what I'm talking about. You just sensed it. We don't do that because we have learned to speak and we do it all the time. Well, yes, Jeff. And it's interesting when they say your words cast a spell, right? It's they cast the spell that is invisible. They're casting the feeling, the intention. That's why when your words go out, they went out with a purpose. What was the purpose? Your mood. So what's important? The mood. The mood. Learn and practice how to. Don't think so much. You already know how to sense and you do it. You know, when I was breastfeeding when my son was a baby, the best way is to sleep topless because I don't have to get out of bed. He's right next to me. All I had to do when he was finished on one side was to pop up and move over him to the next side. Find the milk. They smell scent because it's dark in the room and their eyes aren't open, but they're asleep, but they're not. They're just hungry, right? They sense. And that's how they get to the milk. They don't have words, but they express. And there's this woman who can interpret cries of a baby. She'll tell you what it sounds like. And I always marvel at that. All right? You is we already do it, but we've just fallen out of practice because we've become reliant upon something else to do it. Words. We don't even try to remember anymore. Siri, Alexa, da 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 da. We don't try to remember. So what I'm showing you is all of the comparisons of ways that we do things because we think we're more advanced. When in actuality, the advancement comes from the sensing. And then you'd begin to know the difference between your true intuition and just fear. You would sense, you would know the difference between, I shouldn't walk down that dark alley. That could be unsafe. But you would know something different. If you sensed and you felt, you would feel the safety or you would feel the cause to not be safe. You would sense it, as opposed to hearing all the time, you shouldn't walk down that alley alone. Those are just things that we say, but you'd begin to sense more. So this lovely, lovely Tuesday, we're going to practice. You're just going to practice. But how do you practice just sensing? Hush. Just sit still. I mean, Dr. Joe Dispenza, this is a big part of his program. He gets you to, quote unquote, what he calls no self, no thing. When you sit there in that silent space and you just allow yourself, it's beautiful. You see, because words can't even really describe it, but I'll try because that's what we do, right? We talk. So when you sit or you lay there and you go into the silence and just breathe, all of the noise is at the forefront of the brain, yes? Because you just closed your eyes. You can hear the traffic. You can hear the fridge. You can hear the clock. You can hear anybody snoring. You can hear those things. But the more you stay still and focus on just that inhale and exhale, those sounds begin to drift away. And as those sounds drift away, your perception of yourself becomes bigger because you're moving from the outside experience all the way to the inside. And as you move towards the inside, you're bigger. You feel more. You sense more. You're now in touch with the invisible, right? That's what you're doing. You're now in touch with the invisible. And there's more invisible than there is visible. So then you begin to sense and to feel the invisible movings. You'll know that it's not make-believe and that it's not quote unquote invisible because you can't see it. It's invisible because you don't sense it. But once you practice doing that, you will begin to sense when somebody is being real with you and when they're not. You'll begin to sense when you are being real with you and you're not. So you see, put the words on the shelf today. Speak when you must. But go within and begin to sense what is around you. Let's go right into the bowl for that. I'll welcome you after the bowl. The bowl is necessary to continue this right now. What do you feel like? This is the point. What do you sense? See, this is how we are. Hello, Jeff. It is always great to be in your presence. It is. Thank you for being here. Well, you're the one in the chat who said hello, so thank you. It's really good. And for the others who've not made themselves known on YouTube and Facebook, I still see you. It is good to see you. Twitter. Who's on Twitter this morning? Hey, Zaps. It's good to see you, love. Good to see you. Indeed, it is. Fan base. Who's kicking it with us today? 3P. Hey. Long time. Welcome, Moon and Dolphin Duck. Big Mike is in the house. Let's see. Delight. Afternoon delight. Ow. Miss KZ. Burnt skillets. Happy. Miss McQueen. Oh, it is good. It is real good to see y'all today. I trust that you'll practice it. I trust that you will practice. Simply because we have a phrase that we use, isn't it? Read the room. How do you read the room? You sense what is happening. Right? You sense what is happening. And you go with the flow of what you feel in there. I trust that you will practice, because I stress this because when we practice, we will strengthen our relationships. And if you look around the world right now, it's a dog eat dog world out there. Everybody at each other's throats all the time. This and that and blah, blah. No, learn to sense so that when you walk in your house, you can take care. You know, people say, oh, well, she should be my peace or he should be my peace. You better be your own peace. Ow, you better be your own peace. Why? Because if you are at peace, you will sense when it is not in your vicinity, and you will know what to do. You think a man should have to ask you for a hug and say, baby, I had a hard day? He shouldn't have to say nothing. You shouldn't have to say anything either. You should know, so that when you walk in that space, you go, come. And you just hold each other. There aren't any words. Same for your child. You see? If you practice, you will know, and you'll be able to heal your situations that are going on. Because after you initiate that, moving in feeling and sensing. Now the words will start to flow, and you'll find there won't be any misunderstandings. There'll just be that, ah, babes, I'm so glad you heard me. Vice versa, yeah? Vis-a-vis. Like you'll just know. How will you just know? Doesn't that make you mad when somebody say, well, you'll just know? That's how. Because you've spent the time to practice. Remember, when you practice something the same way every time, what do you develop? A habit. So what is intuition then? A habit of what? Constantly listening and trusting your inner. And we always say, well, how do I develop my intuition? Through practice, and it becomes your habitual way of living. That when you feel that sensation, like, I know what that is. And then you act according to what you know that thing is. But you've got to practice, right? This is all you do. You just practice. You sit there and you allow all the noise from the outside to just dissipate. You can't force it to dissipate, but it will dissipate the more focused you become on one thing. You can focus on a dot on the wall. You can focus on inhale, exhale. You can focus on counting. You can focus on the beating of your heart. Many things to focus on. Some people say, Angela, sometimes I just sit there and I listen to you and I totally drift somewhere else. It's like you put me in a trance. I don't put you in a trance. You're just focused that the outside diminishes and the interior expands. That's all you've done. Practice now that you understand, or you have a better understanding of what intuition really is. The practiced art of listening and feeling and sensing. The great king has entered the space. Welcome, Your Highness. So this glorious day, I'm sitting here and I can smell the turnovers. Whew, hallelujah. I'm going to take one for lunch today, and my lunch is a sweet treat. But remember to practice. Here's how you practice. Find a quiet place. Mothers will. Good luck. But you can do it. You can do it. That same secret place you hide to eat the candy that you don't want to share. Hello, I know what I'm talking about. My son is 15 and I still do it. But shh, don't tell him. He's actually just sleeping there right now. But find a quiet place. You could sit in the car. It's quiet there. Sit in the closet. Sit in the bathroom. Your own washroom, not a public one. Whew, yikes. And as you sit there, just breathe, right? Isn't that a country song? Just breathe. Don't do anything else. Just breathe. Don't fidget. Just breathe. And you will notice the more focused you become on the breathing, you will begin to become more aware of your surroundings. You'll begin to see with your invisible eyes. Why? Because you'll be able to sense the undercurrent in the space wherever you are. All it takes is practice. And if you find you're saying to yourself, oh my God, I can't do this. This is too hard. Stop. Just take a break. Because as I told you, you cannot force it to happen. You do it naturally, especially just as you're falling asleep is when you do it. Yes, that's when you're doing it most effectively and efficiently. And once you start to practice doing it, it gets easier for you to slide into that state. You know what they call that state? Self-hypnosis. You see, we think hypnosis means you're losing your consciousness. No, you are not. You are expanding the consciousness. What does that mean to expand your consciousness? You are becoming aware of the inside as opposed to what's going on outside. The cars honking their horns. I'm walking here. All of that diminishes. And now you've entered something else. Because there's more going on in there than there is going on the outside. You see, all of our senses, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, skin, they lean towards the exterior. Well, do they not? Can't shut your eyes and drive. So the eyes lead towards the exterior. But if you close them, you shut out the exterior. And when you shut out the exterior, what opens? The interior opens. Now you go into a quote unquote dream state. We do it when we sleep. Shoot, there's a fancy word for it. Lucid dreaming. When all that you're doing is taking your attention away from the outside world and bringing your attention towards the inside world. When Neville Goddard says they're worlds within worlds, what do you think he's talking about? There's a world within you. How do you know there's a world within you? Well, look at the artist. Where does he get that idea from? Inside. Look at the writer. Where does he get that story from? Inside. There are worlds within worlds. You just have to practice going in it. It's nothing magical. It's nothing fancy. It is what you are capable of doing. It's nothing mystical either. It is what you are capable of doing naturally. Yes. It is where all your ideas are, inside of you. All of your life is within you. As within, so without. Anyways, I'm done talking. That was the point, isn't it? But practice. Take every opportunity to practice and have fun with it. Think about all the things you can discover. You're looking for an idea? Well then, tell yourself what you're looking for and just go within there and just sit there quietly. And then you be the one, Eureka, I did it. Yes. So my friends, my beautiful friends, go forth this day, this beautiful Tuesday. It is pitch black outside if I look through the curtains right now. Yeah. I can't see any stars. It's too cloudy at the moment. So I might not see my alien friends. I might know. We'll see which star is going to take off this morning. Wow. Anywho, countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Much love, YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. Much love to you all. Hold on, fan base, I'm coming. I'll see you tonight for the bedtime lecture. I don't know what it is. I don't remember, but it's there. So I'll see you tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, fan base.